Welcome to Penalty Box Radio Live on 102.5 The Game. I'm your host, Shaun Smith. With me today, not as always, normally this is where I'd say as always, Ann Kimmel. Ann Kimmel is not here. Today we've got a familiar face joining us, someone you've seen on the show before. He's very grumpy, but he's here to talk hockey for an hour. He promised he would hold off the grumpiness. But we've got none other than Preds beat writer for the Tennessean, Alex Daughtery. Alex, welcome to the show.
Hello. I'm not grumpy, I promise. I'm actually perfectly fine. Grumpy. But I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me again. Always happy to step in for Ann and come back to this studio for a fun hour of hockey. So
it's gonna. Alex, here's the thing. Like, this is honest hockey talk and opinions, so we get to be honest with our talk and our opinions. We don't have to lie. We don't have to make things up. We can just say what we think. Now, this is the time in the show normally where we make nice with Ann. It's very important that we take time out at the beginning to make sure Ann's doing okay, but Ann's not here. So, Alex, we're going to make nice with you. Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm ready for these late hockey games to be done. It has made my sleep schedule is crazy. I haven't gotten to bed before like 2 a.m. most nights. So I will be very happy with the return of that. And then, obviously with the way the team is playing, we are not necessarily going to be done with the regular season. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today. But I think it's been a pretty fun stretch. There's been some not great moments, but there's also been a lot of fun moments like last night. So I'm doing great, and I'm really having fun watching this team right now.
And I think, people listening, they might say, well, Alex, if you don't want to stay up so late, go to bed. But this is your job. Like, you have to watch these games. You have to be reporting on them. You don't get the luxury of just snoozing whenever you want, right?
That is true. But I will never complain about that.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you should.
I'm
saying it. If people think that
I don't want people to get the impression that I'm going to wind my way to the, I have to stay up and watch hockey for my job.
Oh, no, I'm getting paid right now.
I genuinely love it. But you do lose sleep.
Oh, absolutely.
4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. I took about a 2-hour nap today, so that was actually really nice. But
that sounds nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like a dream.
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
Sounds cool. And the worst part, though, is you stay up and watch a game, and it doesn't end well, and you're like, man. It's still 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Doesn't change anything, but now you just kind of feel like, well, that sucked. That's the worst feeling. All right, well, so look, Ann and I have been doing where we start out talking about our hockey happies and crappies. But back when Alex was on the show, it's good. But I figured we'd go old school today, and we would start with our puck drop topic, which is something Alex started on the show, where we're just going to drop the puck. We're going to get started right away. Enough making nice. Just going to throw it out there, Alex. Are the Nashville Predators a playoff team?
I think they are. They've shown me. I mean, they went on this road trip, a very, very important road trip, and I'm counting the Tampa stop first too, because even though they came home right after that, I'm counting it as a 6-game road trip. They started the 6-game road trip. They needed to win crucial games, including games against the Kings and Sharks, and they did that. They got a point against the Kings the second game, and then last night they shut out the Ducks. A phenomenal game,
great game,
and they showed me that they have enough in the tank to get the points needed to finally get into that playoff spot and hold it. So the Utah game is going to be tough, and I wouldn't be surprised if they lose that one. But the 3 games to close it out at home, I feel like they're going to do it, and they'll be in the playoffs by the time the season ends.
So you think, and I'm just, look, we will spend more time talking about this, so you don't feel like you have to go super deep right now, but you feel pretty confident. Is that what you're saying?
Like, yeah, I'm pretty confident.
What's your range of confidence there? Are you looking at like 50 to 75%, 75
I'm like
to 90%?
80% confident.
Okay, this may surprise you, but Alex, I've been saying for a long time that I don't think this team makes the playoffs.
Okay.
And I've been looking, Alex, for reasons why they should. Okay. And I've said it. Now, look, we break things up in PBR weeks here, just the games between shows. PBR, this is what has to happen for me to be convinced that this team is a playoff team. Now, and there's a difference between a team that makes the playoffs and a team that goes far in the playoffs, obviously, right? Now, I'm feeling a little closer that they might make the playoffs. I mean, there's enough things happening on the ice, but I'm still not sure that even if they make it in the playoffs, they can go very deep.
Oh, definitely not that. No, there's no way. But okay, so they're at 84 points right now. I think the cutoff for the line, the playoff cutoff line for the wild card is going to be around 90.
Okay,
they've got 4 games left to get 6 points.
Okay,
they had 6 points out of the last 8 games. I think that's pretty reasonable.
3 wins, 2 wins, and 2 overtime losses.
Yeah, I think they can get there. So I think it's not going to be easy. I mean, all these teams are fighting for it, and maybe when they play the Sharks will be out of it, so they don't have as much to play for. The Ducks might be in there locked in. I don't know, but I feel like I look at this team, and the Preds always play well against the Wild. As good as the Minnesota Wild are, they always play well against them. I just feel like they can get 6 more points, maybe even more, and get in there. Get inside of the playoffs.
Get into the playoffs. maybe not super deep into the playoffs, but in the playoffs.
They will be technically in there.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned like you've seen enough things from them, right? That make you feel like they've got enough in the tank to make it happen. What are some of the things that you've seen on the ice that are making you feel this way?
I think it's just that they have a threat. They have an offensive threat. They have at least one line, maybe even 1.5 lines that are every time they are on the ice, you expect them to score. Right?
Okay.
They have with the O'Reilly, Stamkos, and now LaRue, sometimes Evangelista line. You expect that line to score. At Philip Forsberg's closing out on 40 goals, you expect him to get points. And then you have a host of other guys that are kind of contributing, and every now and then it's a Tyson Jost or maybe Eric Holla did something in the Anaheim Ducks game. Matthew Wood, the defense is not contributing on offense as much these days, except for Roman. But there's plenty of guys that are kind of stepping in and every once in a while contributing enough to make that top line just shine and be supported. I think the other thing is, the goaltending has been really good recently. Both Saros and Onninen have been fantastic. Unfortunately, the defense does not look very good at times, and we can talk about that. But I think the main thing that I have hope is they have a line that other teams have to worry about. I haven't felt that about the Predators in a couple years now, where there's like, the other team might actually get worried when this particular line is out there. They have that. I mean, when O'Reilly, Stamkos, Forsberg, and Evangelista are out there, the other team has to worry about it. I mean, they have to prepare for it. So that's important.
You think one line is enough to make that happen, with just the support from other players?
To make what happen?
To get into the playoffs.
Especially I do. I think that's good enough because of how bad the wild card race is, I guess. I mean, and maybe in previous years not so much, but
fair.
This year, I think it's good enough. You got a couple near 40 goal scorers. That's enough to make it in the playoffs. Yeah.
You mentioned defensive issues, not necessarily. You didn't mention defensive issues. You mentioned the defense not contributing to the offense as much. I think one of the reasons when I look at the team and I make my comment that I don't think this is a playoff team, the reason for that is one of the biggest is that the defense seems to be struggling a little bit. There seem to be some underlying issues there, which I think what we'll probably end up doing in the next segment is kind of breaking down some of these things that we're kind of scratching the surface on. But something else I've noticed, and I don't know what you feel about this. I'm curious to get your take, but there seems to be, and it's not new this season, this has happened for a while now, there seems to be this problem with playing a full 60 minutes. And Ann and I had kind of joked, like they played a very solid 58 in one of the games recently, but that first minute and the last minute were the ones that killed them.
Yeah.
What do you think's going on? Do you think that's having as big of an impact as I do, that they're just not able to put together a full 60-minute game? Even the Ducks game last night, which was, a 5-0 shutout.
Yeah.
Took them a while to get going.
Okay, so I think I would just make one distinction that I don't think that there's any team that plays a full 60 minutes. I mean, outside of maybe the Avalanche, and even them, like they have lapses. Like I think it's a matter of like what kind of mistakes you're making.
Okay.
And this team defensively makes some of the worst mistakes you can possibly make. I mean, too many times defensemen are behind the net, sort of regrouping, retrieving the puck, and wingers are there to receive an outlet, or a center is there to take it up the ice, and the pass is just terrible, or it is a poorly a rushed decision that leads to a turnover. And there's several players on this team. I don't think there's any defenseman on this team that doesn't do that like nightly.
Yeah.
Roman Yossi on down. I mean, like, I think it's all of them make these like defensive mistakes that lead to turnovers that force the goaltenders to do too much work, and that's frustrating because So I guess the answer to my question is, when they have these lapses, and if you listen to Brunette talk about this all year, whenever he talks about a game, he's always like, "We lost it in the second," or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's never always worried about, like, you're gonna lose momentum at some point. Like, the other team's gonna fight back. They're gonna get a power play and score a goal, and they're gonna fight back in it. They're trying to win too. How do you react to when you lose that? When you lose it, how do you get it back? How do you protect the puck in important moments when you need to just find your game again? And like, they are not as good at doing that with their defense. They're good at doing that with their forwards. I think the forwards are able to pull them out of it, but their defense just makes these like horrible mistakes, and you saw a lot of that last night against Anaheim, even though Onanen played so well, where it's just like, how is this defense so disconnected at times? And it's just,
I think that's the right word.
It's pretty frustrating to watch. Yeah,
and I think it's hard too, coming from, if you look, and I know that the cup run was quite a while ago, Alex. I'm not talking necessarily about the 2016-2017, but even those teams in the years after that had such strong defensive cores that didn't only contribute offensively, but were very solid defensively as well. It's a big departure, I think, for me watching to realize, like, you can't rely on the defense the way you used to be able to.
Let me make one bring up one name, a name that you know well, Ryan Ellis.
Okay.
One of the reasons that Ryan Ellis was such a good defenseman for the Predators was decision making.
Right.
He always made the right decision, whether to pinch up, to drop back, when he knew he could get a puck, when he knew he could get that pass out. It was decision making. That's all it was. It was in the brain. It was mental.
Right.
It was like constantly. He was always making the right decision, and that's what's missing here. Like, these guys are talented skaters,
sure,
and good players and physical, and they can do all those things. But it's just like they're mentally they're not making the right decisions on the back end, and that was one thing that was so good about that defense that you talked about. Guys like Ryan Ellis were making just perfect decisions all the time.
Well, Alex, I certainly agree with you on that. We're going to get into this a little bit deeper when we come back in the next segment. But before we go, let me tell you about Tennessee Valley Paving. Tennessee Valley Paving is a third-generation, family-owned and operated company serving Middle Tennessee since 1957. They handle everything from driveway and parking lot paving to municipal and commercial projects, and even specialty work like tennis courts and aviation pads. They're bonded, hold an unlimited license, and ready to serve your paving and sealing needs. Call Tennessee Valley Paving today at 615-794-2351 or visit TennesseeValleyPaving.com. That's Tennessee Valley Paving, serving the region with quality you can count on. Best spot to catch every game, head over to East Nashville's favorite sports bar, Beyond the Edge. With over 30 TVs and 25 beers on tap, you'll never miss a moment. They've got you covered for lunch, dinner, and late night, serving food all the way until 2 a.m. Plus, enjoy happy hour every weekday from 2 to 6, and don't miss 2-for-1 Sundays. That's Beyond the Edge at 112 South 11th Street in East Nashville. Beyond the Edge, your home for every game. All right, we are back. Alex, we're here in the second segment of Penalty Box Radio Live on 102.5 The Game. We were discussing at the top of the show whether or not we thought the Predators were a playoff team. Alex firmly in the camp that they are a playoff team, meaning he believes firmly they will go to the playoffs. I'm still hanging on, thinking it's not going to happen. We've talked at length on this show before about what it would take to make me think it'll happen, and it hasn't happened for me yet. But Alex has shared some wisdom with me and with the listeners here, talking about reasons why he feels like this team will make the playoffs. We kind of got into some reasons that the Predators were struggling a little bit, and we're going to start going a little bit more in depth with those. And I think the interesting one here, Alex, looking at that Ducks game last night, up late, watching the game, the Predators start off slow, eventually score a goal, really get things going. 5-0 shutout. First Pred shutout in quite a while. It hasn't happened in well over a season. And
120 games.
120 games. I mean, that is a long time in the hockey world. That's a season and a half since the Predators last had a shutout. It comes with the glove of Justus Annunen, the backup goaltender. And what's interesting here, you heard the commentators mention it over and over that he just seemed dialed in. And I'd have to agree, he really stole that game. And not necessarily stole the game because they had 5 goals, but we talked about defensive struggles. We're talking about goaltenders being dialed in. Does it seem to you like the team has had to rely too much on goaltenders to save games here recently?
Well, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's just goes back to the defensive structure that we talked about before. Let me just throw some numbers out. Like last night's pairing with Adam Wilsby and Justin Barron. They were on the ice for around 16 minutes in that game at 5-on-5, and were completely caved in. I mean, 2-to-1 shot attempts allowed. Wow. versus generated. Justin Barron, 28 shot attempts allowed versus 12 at the other end. Lots of expected goals going against the Predators. 2.72 with Barron on the ice, 1.91 with Wilsby. I mean, and so look, Justus Annunen had probably one of the best goaltending performances. Definitely the best goaltending performance of his career, but maybe one of the best goaltending performances in the Nashville Predators' recent history since probably Pecorine.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know who maybe the one, and you know what, the Saros one where he stopped 70 shots in Carolina. Yeah. Probably that one.
That was pretty solid.
That probably beats it, but this was astonishing. He was stopping a very good Ducks offense from getting on the board, and there were just so many times you just saw I think what's frustrating for Predators fans is you want your defense to be contributing offensively, and you want them to be a part of the rush or a part of the attack, but you cannot sacrifice defensive coverage for that. The way this team has to play, and Burnett's talked about this, is they have to rely on their forwards to generate through the cycle, through an extended possession, pulling that defensive out, or pulling the defense out, and forcing sort of overloads and forcing chances where you have a chance on the back door because a defenseman came down too low or whatever. That's how it's got to work. You can't have situations where a defenseman just jumps into play, fires off a long range shot that has no chance, gets it blocked, and goes the other way. This team cannot win like that. If that happens if they make the playoffs and play Colorado, that's a goal every time. I mean, you're going to give up so many goals that way. The defense just has to understand they don't have to produce all the offense, but they cannot sacrifice their defense to do any kind of offensive. Now, the one exception is Roman Josi. Roman Josi has carte blanche to kind of go on his own.
He should.
As he should. He always has. But even him, I mean, I think even him, he needs to understand too many times Roman Josi's in the zone with extended possession, and he fires off a shot that really has no chance. And he's used to that. He takes a lot of shots. And I'm not talking about on the power play. I'm talking about a 5-on-5.
Right.
There's some good shooters on this team. I mean, Forsberg, Stamkos, Marchessault, Matthew Wood, these are all good shooters. They're better shooters than Roman Josi. Roman Josi's got a great one-timer. He's a good shooter. Those guys are better. And he would tell you that too, I'm sure. So, this defense just needs to just figure it out. They need to rein it in because it's just not – it looks a mess at times. And that's what I'd say is not working the most.
Well, and I think, too, if you go back several years, this was a team that kind of funneled a lot of the offense through the defense, having those guys fire shots in from the blue line and letting scrappy forwards clean it up, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily – what they're doing now, when you say what the defense is doing now, is not a major departure from what they were actually being tasked to do before, but the structure's changed. The makeup of the team has changed. You have more skilled shooters. You don't need to rely on as many greasy goals.
Yeah.
Coming off of a rebound from a blue line shot.
We have a commenter that has weighed in. Can I read this?
Please.
On my, I shared the feed on Twitter, and I have a comment here from Mike. This is just fresh off the press. This is from Mike. The defensive issues are definitely worth highlighting. Glad to see talk on that. A historic game from Oninen, but with a GSAE, that's goals saved above expectations, at nearly 6. Essentially, the average goalie loses that game 6-5. Absolutely right. And that's an issue not sustainable to expect the goaltender to carry that much weight. 100%, Mike.
Sure,
that's perfect. Well said, because that's the issue. Now, I will say, last night was a particularly poor defensive effort from this team. Every great goaltending behind every great goaltending performance is a terrible defense.
That's right.
And that's what happened. And so, I would expect them to be better. We also got to remember that they're playing without Nick Hague right now.
True.
Who has been better. I think he's been actually okay. I think he's starting to be more physical in the back end, so that's good. Yeah, I just wanted to share that. I think people notice it. People are watching the games and they're like, "What is going on with the defense? Like, giving up all these chances and odd man rushes and leaving the goalie out to dry and all that."
Well, like you said, against a team like Colorado, that's not going to end well.
Yeah.
You're going to end up with, like you said, those are going to be goals every time, right? You can't have that in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You're not going to last longer than a couple of maybe 4 games. You have to be at least 4, maybe 5, but not much more than that if that's what's happening. So let's move on and talk about something else.
Okay.
Good.
The good stuff.
Well, I mean, that was good stuff. It was good, honest hockey talk and opinions. Alex.
Oh, I meant
the
like
positive stuff.
Positive, yeah.
Let's talk about the positive stuff. And you mentioned the skilled forwards, right? I always like to call them your big money guys, your superstars, the guys you're paying to score the goals. Where in the past sometimes that tended to be a problem, it doesn't seem like it's an issue this season, and especially not in the last few weeks. I pulled some numbers for the last PBR week, Alex. Would you like me to go over them?
Go for it.
So we're going to start with Philip Forsberg. Just in the last PBR week, 4 goals, 2 assists. Steven Stamkos, 3 goals. Ryan O'Reilly, 1 goal, but 5 assists. Jonathan Marchessault, 1 goal, 2 assists. Roman Josi, 1 goal, 5 assists.
And that's in 4 games, or
I think they only had 3 games the past week, wasn't it? I get the PBR weeks confused. I'm going to look at it right now.
I think that's right.
4 games.
Right. 4 games.
2 against the Kings, 1 against the Sharks, and 1 against
Anaheim.
the Ducks.
Okay, yeah. So no, those are great performances, and that's kind of what I mean. Like when you have a line, when you have players like that can contribute, like you have a chance. You obviously you'd rather have 3 balanced lines that can each one has a good offensive player or a playmaker that can make things happen. The Preds don't have that because for a lot of reasons, but you can't say that any team wants to go up against players like that. I mean, Steven Stamkos has been fantastic this year, scoring all these goals. Forsberg, just business as usual for another 40-goal season. Ryan O'Reilly, career season. Jonathan Marchessault has been better. Definitely better than he was in the beginning of the year, and better than he was last year probably too. So yeah, it's great that those players are performing, and they're performing on the power play too, which is great. Like the power play is like a top 10 power play now, which is wild.
It's really
top
wild.
11 power play, but yeah, it's
close enough, Alex.
So that's good. I mean, the power play is producing those. These are all good things, and this is why I think that there is a path to make some noise in the playoffs. Maybe make them sweat a little bit. I don't think you're going to beat Colorado, but could you see a game where either in Colorado or in Nashville, if that's who they play, if they get in and that's who they play, that Forsberg scores a couple goals, Saros plays outstanding, and they win 5-4 or something. Like I can see that. I can see that happening.
Like, I don't see why not, for sure. I think too. We've done a lot. I know you haven't been on the show this season, but were you here once earlier this season?
I think I was. Yeah.
Okay, you haven't been on the show much this season, but we've done a lot of Civil War commentary because I've reached the age as a man where I have to choose a war to be interested in. and it's the Civil War. So I've been reading a lot about the Civil War, and as Abraham Lincoln said, as goes Philip Forsberg, so go the Nashville Predators. So when Forsberg's on, the team is on. I could definitely see him turning it on in the playoffs, making a team or two nervous. When we come back, we are going to shift gears, and we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen, or some possibilities for the new general manager of the Nashville Predators. We'll get into that when we get back, and we're going to go to a commercial right now. Looking for more than just a haircut? At Timber & Blade, you'll find a place to recharge and walk out looking your best. Maddie and Becca, a husband and wife team with over 20 years of experience, have created a space that's masculine, warm, and rooted right here in Tennessee. They use clean products they trust on their own family, and every cut is crafted with care. Slow down, connect, and leave grounded in who you are. Timber & Blade, rooted in craft, grounded in care. Book online at timberandbladetn.glossgenius.com or visit 1731 Mallory Lane, Suite 100 in Cool Springs. We're back. Penalty Box Radio Live on 102.5 The Game. I've got Alex Daughtery of the Tennessean here with me. We've been talking about things the Preds are doing well as they potentially head into the playoffs, and things they may need to improve on as they potentially head into the playoffs. And we're going to shift gears this segment. We want to talk about something that's going to happen whether the Preds make the playoffs or not. But as we all know, General Manager Barry Trotz is stepping down, heading into retirement, and the Preds will be getting a new general manager. They're not going to talk about it until they have one to announce. So we're not being told anything other than what leaks out here and there about who they're talking to. But we want to talk about our own opinions, honest hockey talking opinions this segment. Alex, you spend a lot of time around the Nashville Predators. What are you thinking here on a GM? Who do you want?
There's some options out there. Let's do a quick rundown of the names we know the Predators are talking to. This is based on numerous reports. Elliot Friedman, Frank Saravalli, several other reports. But I do believe that they did at least talk to Marc Bergevin, former Montreal Canadiens Marc Bergevin. I don't know if they've talked to, but I think Brendan Shanahan's name has been out there, former Toronto Maple Leafs general manager. Or actually, sorry, not general manager, team president. Or president of hockey operations, or whatever his title was.
Something.
It was not GM, I know that.
Something.
Peter Chiarelli, another former general manager who is no longer with St. Louis, former with Edmonton. You've got Tom Fitzgerald. So these are all. The reason I'm naming these first is these are all they have been a general manager before.
Right.
Some successful, some not.
Sure.
None are cup winners except. Pete Chiarelli, technically he won one with Boston. If you look into that, you will see that Boston won that one with almost 100% the players that he did not acquire.
Correct.
So there's that. But anyways, those are the former GMs. Then there's the AGMs, the assistant general managers, the up-and-comers and everything that I think are the more intriguing names. We know Brandon Pridham, the Predators asked permission to speak with Toronto assistant Brandon Pridham. I think that's a pipe dream. I don't think he's going to leave Toronto because I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes the full general manager there. Now that, what's his name? The guy that just left, Tree Living. I just always know him as Tree. There's Tree in his name. Brandon Tree Living is gone. Brad Tree Living. But here's the three that I think are the most likely of the AGMs, and that would be Brett Peterson, Florida Panthers, Brett Peterson, Edmonton Oilers, Bill Scott, and Dallas Stars, Scott White. Those are the three of the AGMs that I think are the most likely to, if they're going to go with an AGM, it's going to be one of those three. Brett Peterson is my pick of those, but I'm curious what you have on, what do you think about the Brett Peterson option, and what do you think about going with the assistant general manager route as opposed to GM route?
Okay, so look, here's my Alex, here's my thing. I'm gonna bring the hammer. All right. I don't believe. I think you're in a situation now where you've got a new majority owner in Bill Haslam. I think he wants to go in a different direction. And that's based on my own personal opinions. That's not based on anything I've seen or heard. I think he just wants a fresh start. And I think you've got within the team, you've got basically David Poile influence all over the place. Number one, I think he's going to want to get away from that. That's just something I think is going to happen, not basing that on anything. Now, the second thing I'll say is that bringing in another general manager, you already know what someone who's been a general manager can do. So it's almost like you have a blueprint that does seem kind of appealing. Even if they weren't successful, you might be able to understand what they were trying to accomplish, what the specific roadblocks may have been that kept them from accomplishing those goals. But I think going with an assistant general manager, you don't have a blueprint, and that gives you the chance that something really cool could happen. Somebody's going to come in and just establish a new identity for themselves as a general manager and a new direction for the team. I think that would be really appealing for Bill Haslam as the majority owner.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and not connected to the team previously.
Correct.
And I think that's, a lot of people think that could be the reason why. I don't think that's the reason why Barry Trotz wasn't successful, because he was connected to Nashville.
No, not at all.
If anything, he was too connected. But it was because he could never let go of the coach gene. He could not turn the coach part of his mind off.
It's hard to do.
Brad Peterson, I think, would be my pick right now.
Mine too.
He would be my pick. I think he's proven that he has an eye for, along with the rest of the GM crew there, or the front office there, at the right moves at the right time.
Correct.
The trade for Matthew Tkachuk, getting rid of Jonathan Huberdeau for Matthew Tkachuk, the trade for Sergei Bobrovsky, the signing of Sam Reinhart, the moves to get like Seth Jones at the right time. There were moves that they made that are just like timely. That's the key here, is like understanding your timeline. Where are you? When's your time to actually make moves? Because as we've seen the last like 9-10 years, maybe not that, the last 6-7 years definitely have just been bad timing for the Predators on all these moves. Like we've talked about it endlessly. Like the timing is the issue, and understanding that timing and when to move and when to hold back is so important in today's league.
And I think that's something that he has shown the ability to do very well. I think he's someone who is, Alex, this is going to turn into like just a 15-minute praise segment on Brett Peterson, isn't it? That's okay. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'll stand by that. That way, if he becomes a general manager, he'll be like, "Hey, who are those guys that were so complimentary of me before I got here?" I think first off, like we've already said, he's an outside voice, zero ties to the Poile system. I also think this is someone who is not a member of the good old boy system, which I think you'd probably be getting back into if you brought in someone who's already been a general manager. And I think he's someone who is willing to just rip out the train tracks and put down new ones if he doesn't like the way they're headed. I don't think he's going to hold back. And what's funny is I don't even necessarily mean that with players. I think if he takes a look at anything within the organization and looks at the way it's structured and doesn't like it, he's willing to just say, okay, let's restructure this. Let's make things work. I think you're looking at someone who would be committed to a total culture change. I think he's someone who, and I think it's interesting, if you look at the style of hockey they play in Florida and the way the team is constructed, it's fast-paced hockey, right? Mm-hmm. High speed, high skill hockey. He has no connection to the Predator way. When Trotz became the general manager, one of the first things he talked about was getting back to the Predator way. And the Predator way is a slow, grinding game that wears the opponent down. It's not super exciting to watch. Mm-hmm. You want to put butts in the seats, right? And if you look at the style of hockey they play in Florida, wouldn't that be fun to watch in Nashville?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I think there's also, Brad Peterson, and we don't know exactly what he's been responsible for, but I would imagine he's been a big part of, contract negotiation and salary cap management and things like that. Like most GMs do that, and he's not on the scout side. I know that he's not
Correct.
he's not part of the scouting. I mean, he might contribute to that, but that's not his title. So like in this modern age, like managing restricted free agents into free agency, finding contracts that you can move easily, like not having trade clauses, things like that. Knowing how to negotiate with agents. He was a former agent, or he still is an agent actually. He's a certified player agent technically. So he knows that world. He's got connections there. So like I think he would be a good fit. But since we're also talking about other guys too, for the record, Scott White. I'm sorry, not Scott White. Scott White's Dallas. He would be okay. I think he's not quite as good of a fit. But Bill Scott is with Edmonton. He's been more of the. He was the general manager for the Bakersfield Condors, which became which is the AHL team for Edmonton. And I think he's kind of more of like an up and comer in like the modern analytics side,
right?
Which would be good too.
That's good.
So those two, Brett Peterson's, Bill Scott, would be number one and number two for me on the out of all the options, including the former general managers. After that, I think people give Brendan Shanahan too much crap. I think the Shana plan didn't work out for a lot of reasons, but I think he would be a pretty good person for the job. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Mark Bergevin, maybe not so much, but if you were going to go former general manager, I would not hate Brendan Shanahan. But does he want to be GM, or does he want to be this team president of hockey operations thing, which is another. The Predators really like their setup with their structure right now, so I don't know if he'd be willing to do that. So that's where I'm at. Brett Peterson number one, probably Bill Scott number two, and then maybe like a former GM like Brendan Shanahan 3.
I'm just going to go with number one, Brett Peterson. Okay. I'm not even going to name a number two. That's I've got tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I'm focused. And you mentioned the analytics side of things too, and I think that's interesting because every team has an analytics department. It's just how is that analytics department utilized? And I think I'm guessing that probably a lot of these guys would probably be a lot more forward thinking with analytics and really having analytics work with the scouting department and the guys who are looking at, potential targets for trades and contracts and things like that to try to really sign quality contracts, like you said, things that are easily movable, value-added contracts that aren't, thank you contracts and things like that.
But also, just go back to what I said before. Contracts at the right time.
Right.
Like contracts that make sense for the current makeup of the team, which has been a just strange issue the Predators have had to deal with for the last 5 years, where they're signing contracts for guys that it doesn't make any sense. Why are you signing Luke Shen? Why are you signing, at the time Ryan O'Reilly didn't make sense, but honestly, like it actually, no, that's not true. Ryan O'Reilly made sense.
Always made sense.
Always made sense. Eric Holla, the trade for Eric Holla didn't make a lot of sense, but it's kind of worked out. There's been trade and signs with the Kyle Turris thing, and there's been all kinds of things where, like, was this really the right move, or did you just feel like you wanted to make a move? And that's they need to get away from that quick.
Yeah, if there's moves to make, I'm going to make them. Sometimes those moves just don't hit, but you know what always hits? Drifters Barbecue, Alex. When it comes to barbecue in East Nashville, there's nothing like Drifters Barbecue. Smoked slow and low. Their pulled pork, ribs, and wings bring real smokehouse flavor. And at Drifters, it's not just about the food, it's the music. They've got live music every night, from Riders Night on Mondays to Bluegrass Sundays on their covered, heated patio. Great food, great music, and the perfect East Nashville vibe. Drift over to Drifters Barbecue at 1008B Woodland Street in East Nashville. That's Drifters Barbecue, slow, low, and local. Tennessee Valley Paving has been family-owned and operated since 1957, now in its third generation. From residential driveways to commercial lots, city road work, and specialty paving like tennis courts and aviation pads, they do it all. Plus, they offer sealing to protect your investment. If you need paving you can trust, call 615-794-2351 or visit TennesseeValleyPaving.com. Tennessee Valley Paving, trusted locally, built to last. We are back with our final segment on Penalty Box Radio Live here on 102.5 The Game. I want to go ahead and preemptively thank Alex Daughtery for joining me on the radio tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to him to get this segment kicked off.
Yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and say we made an announcement today, the Nashville chapter of the Professional Hockey Writers Association, that we've nominated Ozzy Weisblatt for the 2026 Masterton Trophy. The Masterton Trophy is one that is given annually to the NHL player who best exemplifies the qualities of perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey. And just to give you an example, like 2 years ago, we nominated Michael McCarron. Last year, we nominated Nick Blankenberg. And this year, we're nominating Ozzy Weisblatt because I don't think there's anyone that has had a more difficult road to get to the NHL for a lot of reasons that are really not related to like injury or play or anything like
Correct.
that. Just related to his background. I mean, there's we can talk a lot about Ozzy Weisblatt, but he, for one, he grew up a child of a deaf adult. His mother is deaf, and his family all learned to sign as children. His mother, Kim, put them in sports to kind of help them, grow as kids, and then they ended up being good hockey players. But then the biggest thing that happened this past fall was their family suffered a big tragedy. The older brother, Orca Weisblatt, died in a car accident in the middle of while Ozzy was at Predators training camp.
Right.
And he had to leave camp to mourn with his family. But he came back and made the opening night roster. And I just thought that was really an impressive thing to be able to, an honorable thing to be able to do and say, I'm going to keep going on because, he knew that his brother would want that. And
Yeah.
And then he scored a goal against his hometown Calgary Flames. Just a fantastic moment. Pointed to the sky and said, that was for his brother. So very proud to nominate him for that award. Now, just so people understand, all 32 teams get a nominee.
Correct.
There is one winner, and that will be voted on by the PHWA at the end of the season. So the only Predator to ever win the Masterton was Steve Sullivan, who won it in 2009. So there's only been one Predators player to ever actually win the award. But hopefully Ozzy has a chance to get one this year.
I sure hope so. I tell you, very deserving young man. We had him on the show, I believe, last season. Really good to talk to. And you're absolutely right, saying that he wanted to come back and play because that's what his brother would have wanted. And it's absolutely true. That family is a hockey family through and through. Any time you get to spend with anyone from that crew is absolutely incredible.
Can I say one funny thing?
Yeah.
When we were telling him about this, I think it was Luke Evangelista. It was someone nearby, and we were explaining the award, and it's about perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey. And someone nearby goes, sportsmanship for Weisblatt, because if you know the guy and watch him play, he doesn't exactly inspire. I think the person was joking, obviously, but it was like,
not a Lady Bing candidate.
He's not a Lady Bing candidate, but obviously it's more than just like on the ice; it's off the ice too. So but people, that locker room loves Weisblatt.
Oh man,
loves Ozzy. So
he's very popular in there, very popular on this show as well amongst me and Ann. So really glad he's in Nashville. Number one, that was when we talked to him. He was in Milwaukee, so it was good to have him here with the big club. So we're just gonna quickly look at what's coming up for this PBR week. Predators, of course, are 1 point ahead of the Kings at this very moment. 3 ahead of the Sharks, 4 ahead of Winnipeg, and 4 behind Utah. Of course, all this could change as teams begin playing games. Alex has gone on record saying he thinks that they need 6 out of these 8 points.
Yep.
Which could come in any variety of ways to be safe. I think here, look, Utah, you said that game may not matter as much just because that's the last one, right?
No. No, Utah matters a lot. That's
Utah
tomorrow's,
matters a lot.
Utah matters a lot. That's the next one.
They could find a way to pass Utah.
Well, that's true. I think what I'm saying is, with the passage of each of these games, the landscape changes.
Absolutely.
In 2 games, when they play Utah, after they play Utah and Minnesota, they have the Sharks and Ducks. Those games might not matter as much. The Sharks might be out of it, or the Ducks might be locked in, or they might be out of it. Who knows? Or they won't be in the wild card race. I mean. So those games might not matter as much. I just think that the more important game is the Utah one, and then Minnesota, and then we'll go from there. But 6 out of 8 does it, I think.
6 out of 8 does it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you that's probably going to bring us right up to our 1-minute warning, and so obviously we'll have a few more games here, close out the season. Alex says the Preds are going to go to the playoffs. He feels very confident. I'm still holding out.
And remember the quick turnaround there. They have to go right. The last game is 16th, and then on the 18th is the first day of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you could jump right into the playoffs 2 days later. I would hope that they don't do that because they have to play on the 16th. I would hope it's the 19th, but I don't know. We'll see. And they'll be on the road, obviously, for the first game.
They'll be on the road for the first game of every series?
Well, yeah, if they finish in the wild card too, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have 1 minute remaining.
Yeah.
They would definitely go wild card 2. Yeah, they would definitely go on the road wild card 2. They could technically host a playoff series as wild card 1 if the wild card 2 were to upset everybody else.
Okay.
With that, all of this is we could also just ride unicorns home.
That's true.
At the end of the day,
it would probably be easier
just
traffic wise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, number one, thanks to Alex Daughtery for joining me today, filling in for Ann in her absence. And, of course, thanks for listening to Penalty Box Radio Live, presented by Tennessee Valley Paving, Beyond the Edge, East Nashville, Boston Commons, Drifters Barbecue, and, of course, Timber and Blade. We'll see you again next week. Maybe all these questions will be answered by then, and hopefully we'll be seeing the Predators headed to the playoffs. See you again next week. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.